Hi, I'm Sophie Philpott, the Senior Careers Advisor here at York St John, and I'm recording this presentation to talk to you about getting the most out of using LinkedIn. I am recording this in one go, so excuse my ums and ahs, and hopefully I won't stumble over my words too often. So the first question really is to think about why you should use LinkedIn. It is something that's increasingly being expected as a presence on LinkedIn. Some sectors or job areas have a much higher expectation than others, but that doesn't mean that you can't find it useful. So even though there is an expectation to be on LinkedIn, what I would think about is why you might want to be on it. What can you get from it? Because if it's useful to you, then it's worth being on there. I'm going to give you a bit of a whistle-stop tour of LinkedIn and some ideas about how to set up your profile and some things to consider. Some of you might already have a profile and be looking to edit it, and others might be looking at this from scratch. So I'll try and cover a range of things. But we'll start with why it should be useful to you, or why it might be useful to you. So one of the first key elements for LinkedIn is that it's a place where you can develop and display your professional identity. So you can think about who you are, what message you want to send out about what work you're wanting to do and what you have done in the past. And it's a really good place to kind of navigate this and practice it and get it out there to people. You can also use it to build networks. Networks are really key. Sometimes a job opportunity comes up because of who you know. That's real. It's not always, doesn't always necessarily feel like the way you want things to work, but it's definitely something that does happen. But the other thing that networks are really useful for are filling in gaps in your information. So sometimes a person can talk to you about what's it like to work in a sector or a type of job or for that particular company. And that can really help with your knowledge base and your decision-making tools. You can also look at building networks for who you might want to collaborate with. Maybe you're offering a skill set that somebody would like within their team or within a project that they're working on. So it's a good place for you to get yourself out there into other people's networks as well. You can also develop your commercial awareness. So commercial awareness is who are businesses? Where are they placed within their sector? Who are their main competitors? What are their aims? What are their values? What are their challenges? If you can know this about a sector and the businesses within it, it can really help you work out where do you want to position yourself? Which businesses can you support with fixing their problems? Where can you be a part of the solution that suits them? What's their ethos like? What are their values? Does this match up with yours? How important is that to you? And it can really help you write really strong applications and be in a really good place for a good interview. You can also on LinkedIn look for job vacancies and jobs that are available. So it's another place to kind of just build your awareness of what's out there, but also finding opportunities. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at LinkedIn itself, and I'll take you through the different areas of the profile and give you some hints and tips about what you could put in the session, in each section. And this is the bit where you're thinking about developing and displaying your professional identity. So this is my LinkedIn profile. This is my homepage. This is where I get to see updates from the people that are in my network. What I will do is I will go straight through to my profile. So this is the bit of my profile that I can see to edit. So most of you will be familiar enough with it or familiar enough with the other websites that work in a similar way. So you just have to kind of click around and find it. The pencil mark is your edit opportunity, your space where you can edit a section, and you'll find that there are other ways of doing that as well. It's relatively self-explanatory. So to start with, a profile that has a photo on it gets looked at 21 times more than profiles that don't have a photo. This is important because people won't look at your profile and won't want to connect with you if you don't have a photo. How your photo looks is also important. You need to be recognizable. The reason that people want to click on your profile when you have a photo is because you look like a human. You're more trustworthy when you have a face. Have a think about how you want to be portrayed in the sector that you want to go into. And if you don't know what sector that is yet, that doesn't matter, but a general picture, a general idea of where you want to go. It needs to be of you and only you. So you don't want a group photo because then how would we know which one is you? And I sometimes see rules that say things like no selfies. And what that really means is no photo that looks like a selfie. For years, my profile picture on LinkedIn was a selfie, but it looked like it had been taken by somebody else. And I think it's just about portraying a professional image. You can show personality. If you're in a sector that is about creativity or livelihood or personality, and that's part of what you're selling, then definitely show that. If you're looking to go into work that is more traditional and more professional, then you want to reflect that. But having a photo is really important. This bit here is like your, it's a banner photo. You can choose to leave that as a pattern of LinkedIn and that's fine, or you can change it to something that you think represents you or your work. If any of you have ever spoken to me for more than about 5 minutes, you know that I like wild swimming, and that is my favourite swim spot, and it makes me happy to see it. So I thought I'd include it on my LinkedIn profile. Under this, you've got your name. So using your real name is really important on LinkedIn because it's how people find you. I'm married and have changed my surname, so I've kept my maiden name in case people search for me based on my maiden name. Underneath that is your headline. So this is the first bit of information about you that you can kind of edit and change that will determine whether people want to look at the rest of your profile or not. So this is the chance to give them information about where you're at now, but also a bit about where you want to go. Now, I'm probably at a different stage in my career to you guys. I'm not looking for a job or an opportunity. I'm looking to build networks and gain information. So what I've gone with is my job title, where I work, and then what my kind of key interests are in that area. You might think about something like second year graphic design student looking for work experience opportunities, or final year psychology student looking for opportunities within assistant psychology roles. There's a whole lot of things you could do, but just short and sharp and highlights who you are and what you're trying to do. Including your location is important. It changes where you come up in algorithms for other people, but it also changes what opportunities you see. So have a think about where you want to put. It might be that you use York because that's where you're studying and that's where you want to work afterwards. Or if home is a different location, you might want to think about putting your home location if you're wanting to look for opportunities back at home. So, but having an opportunity, having a location, really changes where you turn up in the algorithms, and you become much higher in other people's algorithms if you put a location in. The next key section is the about section. So this is where you have a little bit more space. You can actually write quite a lot more in the about section. And this is like your elevator pitch, or maybe it's more akin to the first paragraph on your CV, where you're talking a bit more about your key skills and your strengths and what it is that you're bringing to the table and what you want from it. So just a bit more space to introduce yourself. So if the headline is people reading it to work out whether they want to read more of it, the about section might be where they go next to find out a bit more about what you do. After that, the next bit that people will see on your main profile is your work experience. So in your work experience, you can add paid work, part-time work, voluntary work. You can also add a whole separate section for voluntary work if you want to. So this might be, see here is volunteer experience. This might be because you've done loads of voluntary work and you want to really highlight what you've done. Or maybe your voluntary work is more relevant to the work experience, the type of career that you're wanting to build, and you find it more relevant to put it in your experience. There's lots of flexibility with how you approach it. It's just about making sure that the information you want to share with people is there and online. Within your work experience, you want to think about putting what your key duties are, your main responsibilities, what skills you've built, and what achievements you've got. So if what you're doing is writing about something like part-time work in Tesco, and that's really applicable to write about, there's never such a thing as just a part-time job, because somewhere like working part-time in retail or catering or bar work, you're really building good transferable skills like teamwork, communication, problem solving, how to diffuse situations with difficult people, like really useful things. You might also want to talk about what achievements you've got. So maybe you've been asked to train new staff, or you absolutely smashed targets, or you've been promoted. These are really good things to highlight within your work experience. You can also add media within your experience. So when you want to add some work experience, it gives you space to talk about where you work and what company and the dates and things. But down here, once you've finished the description, you've also got media. So you can upload a file or you can link to a URL. So I like this because it shows something that's a bit more dynamic than just text. And it gives you a chance to really highlight a range of things that you've done in a different way. So maybe you're building a career that's going to be based on having a portfolio. So you might want to link to your whole portfolio if it's online, or maybe you want to showcase a couple of key pieces of work from different jobs. You could upload a YouTube video or share a YouTube video, or you can, like I say, showcase a key piece of work. Maybe you're going into creative industries or you're developing your coding skills. Like there's a really wide range of things that you'd want to showcase. At the moment for this job, I've got a podcast that I recorded with our careers advisor, Matt, and I've got a video that's about one of the things that we offer, which is Grads Direct, so that people can find out more information about these things. In previous jobs, I've got a poster that I presented at a conference, and I've got a Twitter story about a day in the life that I did on Twitter, and kind of previous videos about previous work that I've done. After your work experience, the next section is your education. So mine is from a bit of time ago, so it doesn't necessarily have like a huge amount of information on it. But what you want to think about is putting your degree title and where you've got it from and things, but also highlighting what activities and societies you've been a part of, and thinking about filling the description with relevant things. Have you done key modules that you think employers would be pleased to see that you've done? Or is your dissertation topic particularly interesting or relevant to the work that you're going on to do? Could you give a brief description about what you've chosen to do and what your findings are? That's the sort of thing that really kind of develops the education section on a profile. You can also upload or share media within your education section as well. So if you've done like maybe a group project or a poster, or your dissertation is something that is tangible that you can share, then it's a great way of showcasing that as well. The next section is skills and endorsements. So within the skills, you can add skills that are relevant to the things that you've done, but also think about what type of work you want to go into. So what you want to do with these is think about skills that you could evidence if you were asked about it in an interview, but they're also the right keywords for your the type of work that you're wanting to go into. LinkedIn works predominantly off keywords, and then algorithms. So if you've got keywords in your skills that are relevant to the work that you do, then the opportunities you see come up on LinkedIn will be more relevant to what you want to do. You can also make sure that within your education and your work experience, you build in the same keywords, and that will really help. If you're not sure what the keywords are, spend some time on things like prospects, looking at job profiles and looking at the skills lists. But also do things like try searching for the skills that you're thinking about in here and then look for jobs. And if jobs come back that are relevant, you know they're the right keywords. And if they're not relevant at all, it's worth trying to find the jobs that you want and work out what the common words across different jobs you might be interested in, and then feed that back into your skills and endorsements. You can endorse each other on LinkedIn, which means that you go to somebody's profile and you say, I believe that this person can do it. I have mixed feelings about that. I'm not sure if Suka has ever seen me deliver training, so I'm not sure why she's endorsed me for it, and that makes me have question marks about others. But actually filling the skills section out with your key skills is really, really important. There's a section here which is recommendations. So these are like little mini references. These are really useful. You could ask your peers or academics or people from work. The process for these are that you ask for a recommendation and you send, you write in who you want to write your recommendation, and you send them a little message that says, hi, I'm thinking about looking for work at the moment, or hi, I'm thinking about building my LinkedIn profile. Would you mind writing me a recommendation? They can then choose whether to do it or not. And if they choose to do it, you get to see their comments before you publish them. So you're in full control about what goes out on your page. You can also choose to give them to other people as well. In the accomplishments section, you can add some really neat little things like honours and awards, or if you're part of any organisation, so maybe there's a professional body that you need to be part of or want to be part of as part of your work, you can do it here. If you've done courses that are outside of like education, like university, you can add them here, or you can highlight particular projects. You can talk about whether you've got second languages or if there's particular tests that you've taken that you want to highlight as well. So this is a place where you can just really pad out things that you're proud of. The section at the end is interests. So this is where when you've followed a company, which we'll get to in a minute on LinkedIn, they then show up at the bottom. So it's just one thing to think about is that when you're building what companies you're interested in, everybody that is connected with you can see which companies you've chosen to follow. So it's worth thinking about how does that fit in with your professional brand? Do the companies that you follow match what you're potentially looking into for work? I'm a careers advisor. In higher education, nearly all of mine are careers and higher education related. It fits. Another key thing to think about with developing your profile is this bit up here, which is edit public profile and URL. So when you set up a LinkedIn profile, it tends to be that it's you end up with a really long URL, which is lots of numbers and letters. You can change it up here, and what this means is that you can have something that's really nice and neat to put on a CV or a business card or something relevant. And you can also change. On this page you can see what people can see about you. You can edit it. You can really kind of change your settings and things. One thing to talk about with LinkedIn is that if you go and view people's profiles, they tend to get an alert that will say, Sophie Philpott looked at your profile. If you go to you and settings and privacy, down here you can edit that profile viewing options, and you can change between what people can see. So at the moment, partly because I'm doing this presentation and I don't want everyone to see me snooping on their profile, I've got it where somebody will just get an alert that says somebody at York St John University has looked at your profile. But you can set yourself to anonymous, or you can give them your full details. One of the shortfalls of picking one of the more private ones is that you lose any information that LinkedIn wants to give you about who's been looking at your profile as well. Whereas if you have it on public, you get a lot more information yourself. So that's my whistle-stop tour to the profile and thinking about developing and displaying your personal identity. Now, if you've just listened, or if you go and listen to the podcast, the Ask LaunchPad podcast with Ariana Botti from L'Oreal, she does an excellent job of explaining your personal branding. And I think if you listen to that first and then approach your LinkedIn profile, it's much easier to work out what you're wanting to write. So the next stage is thinking about your networks. How can you build and who do you want to connect with on your profile so that your profile is useful for you? So the first thing to do is think about who can you add to your profile. I would think, first of all, about thinking about the other students who are on your course. You guys are a cohort, you are each other's network, and that is true now when you're all in a similar position to each other, but it's also true in 10, 15, 20, 25 years when you've all gone down really different paths, but you might still be in contact, or you might still be crossing paths, or you might think, oh, hang on a minute, didn't so-and-so become something really useful to my current problem? So connecting with your peers is a really good idea. Also think about friends from before university. What are they doing? Is it worth connecting with them? Think about your family. A secret option that people sometimes forget is the family of your friends. It's amazing how long you can go through your network building before remembering that your best friend's mum has a job in a field that's relevant to what you're interested in, or something similar to that. So taking some time to think about who could be in your network is good. Think about people at university. What about the academics or professional services staff? So nearly all of the staff at university would have had jobs outside of York St John at some point. Who else do they have in their network? How useful is that? So think about maybe you've got academics who have worked in the sector before becoming an academic. That can be really useful. Career staff can be really well-connected people. I will just show you what it's like when you look at somebody else's profile. So I'm going to show you Matt here. So this is Matt, who's the other careers advisor in the team. He's got his profile. He's got a really thorough, good about section. He's got some really nice media on his and some good ways of exploring what he's done here at university. And what we'll do at some point is I'll show you what it's like to find somebody and how you can, a good way to connect with them. My favourite way to build alumni, to build your network online is to use the Alumni tool. So if you go to the York St John page, York St John University page, and make sure that you follow it. So there's, if you're not following, there's a little button here, just unfollow it quickly. So if you come here and you're not following it, it should hopefully give me the option over here, there we go, to follow. And then that means I'll get news and updates from York St John University. But down here on the left-hand side is a little button that says Alumni. You click that, this will bring back mostly strangers, but they're all strangers who also studied at York St John University. And that means that you've got something in common with them already. And it's a really good way to start building a network from people that you don't already know without it just being cold contact. So you get lots of information. So look, down here, there's lots of them. There's nearly 16,000 alumni to look at. You get lots of information about people. So you get information about like where they live, where they work, what type of work they work in, what they studied, what skills they might have, and how are we connected. So if you've got a first connection, it means that you're already connected. Second, it means that these people are friends with some of the people that I'm friends with, and then this is everybody else. So something to look at on here is to think about, well, how can I narrow down this so that it's more useful? You can type in keywords, or you can click on these as search functions. So maybe you're thinking, I'd love to work in the US once I graduate. I wonder how to do that. So I'm going to look at the 635 alumni that graduated from York St John that now work in the US. And I can see here what companies they work for. Oh, do you know what? Getting a job at Goldman Sachs would be my absolute dream, potentially. And that shows us 2 people. So that's really narrowed it down to something that's much more kind of powerful. It actually only shows us one that wants to be connected with potentially. So let's have a quick look at Chelsea's profile. So she's a business partner at Goldman Sachs within human resources. She gives you that information about herself. But if we scroll down, we can see that she just did a term at York St John. So she came to us on one of our international programs. So that means that she might still be interesting to talk to. So what you can do is go and connect. And then in here, what I would recommend is that you always send a message. It doesn't matter whether you're connected with somebody you know really well or somebody you don't know at all. It's so much more polite and meaningful to add a message. So something like, hi Chelsea, I'm a current York St John student, or I've recently graduated from York St John, and I'm looking to potentially move to America to find work. Would you mind if we connected so that I could potentially ask you some questions? And then just send it off. As long as you're polite and professional, the very worst case scenario is that she ignores you completely or she replies to say no. If she does either of those things, you've lost 5 minutes of your life and that's it. You can move on. However, she might let you connect and then maybe you can talk and maybe she can give you some information about what it's like to work at Goldman Sachs or what it's like to live in the US and where does she live, and it might be a really good way of filling some of the holes in your knowledge about that ambition. And you can do that search functionality on the Alumni tool with any sort of method that you want to find what suits you. You can also join groups. You can search for something that you're interested in and just press search. And then up here, you can change it to groups. So I'm not suggesting you guys are interested in joining careers groups. And these are careers within different companies. So I think, oh, maybe that's not quite what I was looking for. So I changed my keywords to something that does suit what I'm looking for. So maybe I will edit it a little. Oh, so the Open University Careers Group might be really useful for me. So let's have a look at it, see what I can see. It's got some information about what the group is about, it's got the rules, and then I can join it. When you've joined a group, what you can do is see what the key discussions are, see what people are talking about. Can you join in with this discussion, or are you just looking to learn from it? Are there any people that you can see asking lots of questions or not asking any, or answering lots of questions? Would they be really good people to network with? Could you add them to your network? So that's our section about building network. The next section would be about commercial awareness. So on here, you can follow companies that you're interested in. So maybe getting a job at the BBC would be a huge dream of yours. So you go to their page and you can press follow. That now means, and it then shows you other companies that might be useful to follow if you're interested in the BBC. What that then means is that your feed will have their updates. So you can start finding out what are the crucial topics. Maybe you see an opportunity and you think, I would love to work for Radio 1 Extra and Radio 1, so I'm going to have a look at what these opportunities are. Or maybe you see a news story that is something that you want to talk to them about at the interview that you've got with them soon. And if you also go to their About section, you will see how a company describes themselves. So this is where you'll often get a lot of information about who are they, what are their values, what are their aims. But you also get other information about like what size company are they, and how many of those people are on LinkedIn, where are they based, when was it founded, what are their locations. So it's a really good place to come and get key information. If they are advertising vacancies, you can click on jobs and it will show you the 119 job vacancies that the BBC has got for you, but this is true for any company. And then if you have a look at people, it will show you people who currently work for the BBC or who have worked for the BBC that are on LinkedIn. And you can do things again, like search for where they're based or what university they went to and what they studied. So you can kind of really start to get a bit of a picture about who works for LinkedIn, and you might be able to find individuals that you want to connect with. You can also look for jobs on LinkedIn. So for this, again, you just up in the search bar and I'm going to go for journalist because I've just seen journalism at the BBC. So I've gone for journalist, and then if I click on jobs, it will just really narrow it down to jobs. And it brings back all the different journalist jobs within the United Kingdom. And what you can do up here is do things like search by how much experience you need. So you think, actually, I really do need to go in at entry level. You can choose some of the companies. If you've got ones that you particularly want to work for, you don't want to work for, you can change it. You can look by date sorted. You can look at how recently they've been posted. And then I think if you look at filter, you can also do things like set salary and whether you want full-time, locations that you might want to work in, and you can really tailor this to something that's useful to you. And then once you've got your search down, you can turn your job alert on, and it means that you can then set up to receive different alerts for those types of jobs. One thing that I would mention about LinkedIn is that your profile is available to people 24 hours a day, which is excellent. It means you don't have to wait for somebody to like load up their email to check out what you're doing and what you're up to. But it does mean that you're limited on how much you can tailor it for an opportunity. So I would advise not applying for jobs using your LinkedIn profile. Using LinkedIn to find a vacancy is a great start, but then go directly to that company website and look for the way that they want you to apply for it. So whether it's an application form or a CV and cover letter, and take the time to create something that's tailored directly for that company, using their language, their tone, reflecting their values, writing to the person specification, because that will give you a much higher chance of being invited to interview than using your much more kind of general profile. my whistle-stop tour to developing your professional identity, building networks, and developing your commercial awareness on LinkedIn. Just something else to have a brief chat about is I'm thinking about other social media and your professional sort of capacity on those. Like I said at the beginning, 91% of employers look at social network profiles before hiring. I've hired before, and I have 100% searched for people on Twitter and Facebook before as part of the process. I don't use it as part of my recruitment process. It's not part of my decision making. That's all based on the application form and then interview. But I can't promise the same for other people. So just have a think about how easy you are to find. I don't use my real name on Facebook. There's nothing wrong with my Facebook profile. There's nothing unprofessional about it. It's mostly just full of pictures of my kid, but which is boring for anybody that doesn't want to see pictures of my kid. But I do like the fact that you're not using my real name. Keeps me very private, and I can choose who sees it and who doesn't. So just think about how public your Facebook profile is, and what would people think about you if they saw you, if they saw it. With your Instagram and Twitter feeds, it's more about thinking about, is this my professional identity or is this my personal identity, and how much do I want the two to mix? If you're somebody where part of your job is about creating content, whether that's physically building something and presenting it, or creating a fitness blog that shows your marketing skills, then maybe that's something that's really important to link to your LinkedIn profile and to have on your CV or to be easily found. But if your social media is really personal about you and your friends and your family, then how easy do you want to be found, and what settings do you want to have on it? What happens if somebody searches for your name and just finds that you've been tweeting memes at Donald Trump for the last 3 years? Like, they might be fine with it, but do you want to take that risk? Do you want to merge your personal and professional? All of these platforms allow you to hold more than one profile logged in at one time and switch between the two. So potentially think about having a professional Twitter or a professional Instagram that allow you to retweet relevant articles and not mix and merge that with sort of friendly chat. Personally, my Twitter feed is public and open and is a bit of a blend of things, and I'm really comfortable with that, but I've thought about the risks that might be involved in it. And like I say, I keep my Facebook really personal and private. One thing that's worth doing is Googling your name and seeing what comes back. Find out if it's you that comes back first. It might well be that you've got a name that you share with many others and that you're anonymous through that. It might also be that it's you that comes back and it's content that you have control over. So it's well worth thinking about what the risks are and about what professional identity you want to put out there. So if you have any questions, you can go to LaunchPad online and book an appointment with a careers advisor. At the moment, we're holding these either over the phone or through video appointment. And then in the future, we'll be back on campus and we'll be doing one-to-one appointments in LaunchPad. You can also email any questions you've got to careers@yorksj.ac.uk and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. I look forward to hearing from you. And if you add me on LinkedIn, then don't forget to write a message and let me know that you've added me after watching this presentation. Thanks. Bye.